When the billionaire carried her upstairs, the incredible secret discovered changed everything forever. Emily stood behind the counter of Rosie's diner, the smell of sizzling bacon filling the air. She wiped her hands on her apron, glancing at the dining room full of familiar faces, each one a brick in the wall of her tight-knit community. It was just another day, fighting to balance her two jobs while nurturing Mia and Ethan, whose laughter echoed in her heart like a soothing melody. Bills crept like shadows, ever-present and suffocating. Her weary eyes met the morning sun as it poured through the diner's window, a fleeting moment of warmth she clung to while serving coffee to regulars. Just as she poured another cup, the bell above the door jingled, announcing an unexpected visitor. Jake, the new owner of the mansion at the end of the street, stepped inside with a kind of confidence that turned heads. Emily braced herself for judgment, but he simply smiled, revealing a warmth that softened her worries. As he settled into the corner booth, she offered her best grin, her heart fluttering against her ribcage. There was something different about this man. He listened, really listened, as she shared snippets of her life over a plate of greasy fries. "Tell me more about your dreams," Jake encouraged, leaning closer, his eyes sparkling. She hesitated, the heaviness of her reality pressing down. "I just want my kids to have a better life," she finally admitted, her voice catching. "They deserve more than this." Gradually, a bond formed, a delicate thread woven through laughter and whispered secrets. But whispers of judgment from townsfolk simmered in the background. "What is she doing with him?" they murmured. The weight of their scrutiny settled on her shoulders. Even her own father raised an eyebrow, worried she was dancing dangerously close to ambition. It was during one of these conversations that the bombshell dropped. "You don't need to make any sudden moves, Em," her father warned, shrouded in concern. "We know how these wealthy folks can be, right?" His eyes, filled with familial loyalty, turned her way, and for a second, she questioned everything, the worth of dreams against the tide of tradition. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Just when Emily felt like she was finally catching her breath, everything changed. A long-buried family secret tumbled out like an avalanche, revealing an unimaginable link between her and Jake's family, one that twisted through generations. Anguish and hope clashed within her, leaving her mind racing. Who was she really? She glanced at the setting sun from her small kitchen, the golden light illuminating the dusty walls around her. Her heart raced with uncertainty, standing at a precipice, cling to her roots or leap into the unknown. The temptation of something more beckoned her like a siren's song. Jake's gaze, rich with affection, spoke of possibilities that could shatter her seemingly perfect world. Could their connection give her everything she longed for? Tension crackled in the air. A confrontation with her father loomed, heavy on her heart. As the door creaked behind her, she felt the weight of legacy pressing against her, a choice waiting to be made between loyalty and love. What would she decide as the gathering storm surged? Would Emily find her true path, or let fear bind her to what she thought she knew? Emily woke the next morning to the soft sunlight spilling into her bedroom, casting gentle shadows over the stillness of the room. The past few days danced like scattered leaves in her mind, the weight of Jake's presence and the shocking revelation of their family connection settling uncomfortably in her chest. She could hear Mia and Ethan giggling in the other room, their laughter a bright anchor in the tumultuous sea of her thoughts. She forced herself to get out of bed, slipping into her well-worn shoes. The burden of decisions threatened to crush her as she dressed, and the thought of facing her father loomed like storm clouds gathering over a sunny day. Could she really confront him about this newfound connection? Deep down, she feared his disappointment. As she stepped into the diner, the familiar sights and smells wrapped around her like an old blanket. Yet today, they offered little solace. Noticing her regulars, she tried to summon her usual cheerfulness, but the tension tightened her smile like a plastic wrap over a fragile dish. "Morning, Emily," called out Mr. Henderson, a retired schoolteacher with a smile that could light up the darkest corners. "You look like somebody stole your sunshine." "Just a little tired, that's all," she reassured him, her voice wavering slightly. As she poured coffee for the bustling crowd, her thoughts drifted again to Jake. The soft glimmer in his eyes had stirred something deep within her, something she couldn't ignore. But the whispers from the other patrons had begun to soften into a low hum, a reminder of what their connection might mean in their small town. That evening, after closing up, Emily contemplated what she would say to her father. Dinner was traditional, the same meal they served every Tuesday, a casserole that had seen more family gatherings than she could count. As they settled around the table, the meal boiled like the tension in the air. She could feel her heart hammering against her chest, begging for release. "Dad, we need to talk," she said, her voice trembling but firm. He looked up, brow furrowing. "About what, Em?" "It's about Jake and us." The words fell from her lips like stumbles on a staircase. She watched the color fade from his face as he processed her words. "Jake? That rich boy?" he breathed, disbelief mingling with concern. Emily took a deep breath, the weight of generations resting on her shoulders. "There's something we didn't know. Something tied our families together, something powerful." His fork clattered against his plate as he leaned back, disbelief etched on his features. "What are you talking about? You can't just get involved with someone like that. They're not like us." "Maybe I don't want to be just like us." She felt the heat rising in her cheeks. This could change everything. "For me. For the kids. Don't you see?" The air thickened with unspoken words. Her father's eyes flickered with fear and protectiveness, emotions she understood but also desperately wanted to defy. The moment teetered, both exhilarating and terrifying. He opened his mouth to respond, but the sound of the doorbell interrupted the impending collision of their beliefs. Emily shot a glance toward the door, heart racing once again. Who could it be at this hour? A mixture of anticipation and dread flooded her veins. Every instinct told her to approach with caution, but with Jake twisting in her heart, she felt an unyielding pull. "Just stay here," she said quickly, her mind racing. She stepped toward the buzzing door, each move echoing her uncertainty. When she opened it, the sight of Jake standing on her doorstep, looking more determined and vulnerable than she had ever seen him, took her breath away. "Emily, I need to talk to you. It's urgent." Her heart raced at his words. What had he discovered? "Can I come in?" he asked, anxiety shadowing his every word. As she stood there, torn between the storm that brewed inside her and the romance that flickered in Jake's eyes, she felt time suspend. Would she let him in, both physically and emotionally? Could this be the moment to fully embrace the thrill of the unknown, or would she retreat into the safety of her life? The choice loomed before her, shimmering like fate waiting to unfold. What would happen next would change everything. Emily hesitated at the doorway, her heart racing in rhythm with the weight of the moment. Jake stood there, the subtle evening light framing his face, casting shadows that danced across his expression. There was urgency in his eyes, a mix of emotions that mirrored her own turmoil. "Emily," he began, stepping slightly closer, breaking the distance between them. "Please," she couldn't avoid the pull any longer. "Come in," she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. As she closed the door, a shiver crept through her. The air felt charged, heavy with the promise of revelations waiting just beneath the surface. She led him into the dimly lit living room, where the familiar comforts of home felt strangely foreign in the presence of this unexpected visitor. "Your dad," Jake started, glancing towards the kitchen, but Emily cut him off. "Let us not talk about him right now. What is going on? Why is it urgent?" The words escaped with an edge of impatience. Part of her needed Jake's warmth to envelop her, while another part urged caution. His shoulders slumped slightly, and he took a deep breath. "I found something about our families. It's bigger than I thought." He searched her face, looking for any sign that she could comprehend the depths of what he was saying. "You have to understand it's bigger than any of us." Emily's pulse quickened further. "What do you mean? What did you find?" He stepped even closer, lowering his voice as if the walls themselves were listening. "I discovered that there's a connection between our parents that goes back years, decades, really. It's complicated," but he hesitated, the gravity of his revelation making his words slow to form. "It's about a family dispute, an old feud that has been kept under wraps. It's why your family has always been at odds with mine." The ground felt as if it was shifting beneath her. All the pieces of her life that had seemed chaotic and disjointed suddenly started to weave themselves into a tapestry of understanding. "What kind of feud?" she asked, her voice trembling with the multitude of emotions swirling inside her. "A business deal gone wrong, accusations that turned into hate. Your grandfather and mine were involved. They lost everything to one another." He paused, watching her face as if searching for recognition, connection. "And it's still affecting us now." They made it personal. Emily felt the walls close in. How had she not known this? It felt instinctual, her distrust of Jake's world, the bitterness lingering in her father's voice. She could finally see the shadows of history flickering around them. "But that doesn't change us, does it?" she asked, the vulnerability creeping into her voice. Jake stepped even closer, his gaze intense. "I don't want it to. But if our families find out," he scuffed the floor with his foot, shifting slightly, "it could have serious consequences. Not just for us, but for everyone we care about." "I have to talk to my dad," she said, the weight of her own indecision heavy in her chest. Would he understand? Would he still support her? Jake shook his head, a plea in his expression. "Wait. Just let us figure this out first. Together." The walls of the room felt confining now. Emily's mind raced through a dozen scenarios, while the silence stretched between them. She was teetering on the edge of a decision that could alter everything she knew about her life, her family, herself. "Do you believe this can work, Jake? Us?" she asked, bracing for a truth that might shatter the growing connection between them. "More than anything," he answered, his sincerity piercing through her uncertainty. And in that moment, a flicker of hope ignited within her. Could love really stand against the tides of past resentment? But as their eyes locked, a sudden crash resonated from the kitchen. Emily's stomach dropped. What was happening? "Emily?" Her father's voice thundered from behind the half-closed door, interrupting their fragile intimacy. The gravity of her situation hit her with full force. What now? Would the truth unravel everything they'd just begun to build, or could they find a way to stand strong against everything meant to pull them apart? The next steps felt ominous, but there was no turning back now. Would they face the storm together, or would family ties prove unbreakable? Emily's heart raced as the echo of her father's voice filled the room, shattering the fragile moment she and Jake had created. Panic clawed at her throat, and she exchanged a quick, frantic look with Jake. His eyes were wide, a mixture of fear and determination swirling within them. "Your dad, he can't find out about us." Jake's voice was low, urgent. She nodded as dread settled in, weighing down her thoughts. All her instincts screamed for her to shield their connection, to somehow hide it from the scrutiny of her father. But was hiding even an option now? Could she risk the bond they were forming pulling apart under the weight of family history? Emily! Her father's voice was louder now, closer. She could hear his footsteps thudding against the floor. I can't let him see you, she whispered, glancing at the doorway. The seconds felt like minutes. Where should I go? Jake whispered back, but her gaze darted around the room, desperate for a solution. Closet. She pointed to the coat closet tucked in the corner. Still, it would have to do. He slipped quickly inside, his presence replaced by sudden silence. Just as she was about to close the door, she hesitated. She could feel the warmth of his body, the energy that had charged the space moments ago, slipping away. Then, she recognized the vulnerability in his eyes, and just before she shut him in, she squeezed his hand once, a silent promise that they would get through this together. Emily? Her dad was almost there. She straightened her shirt and took a deep breath. It was now or never. The door crashed open as her father stepped in, his brow furrowed and eyes sharp with concern. What on earth was that noise? He demanded, scanning the room quickly. Just I dropped a book, Emily stammered, her voice surprisingly calm compared to the whirlwind of anxiety inside her. He took a step closer, eyes narrowing. You didn't hear me knock? I was in my own little world, I guess, she replied, forcing a laugh that felt more like a strangled croak. Are you okay, Emily? He asked, a hint of softness breaking through the anger. The concern in his voice made her heart twist. I just want to make sure you're all right. You've been, he paused, searching for the right words. You've been distant lately. A lump formed in her throat. It was true. She had been pushing him away, battling an internal storm, while he remained blissfully unaware. I'm fine, Dad. Really? His expression shifted. She could see he wasn't convinced. You know you can tell me anything, sweetheart. I'm here for you, he said gently. The sincerity in his voice made her ache. She wanted to reach out, to tell him everything, the truth about Jake, about the feud, about her own conflicting feelings. But how could she add more weight to his shoulders when they were already bearing so much? I know, she whispered. I just need some time. Her father sighed, but a warmth returned to his demeanor. All right, just don't shut me out, okay? I want tea, she promised, conflict raging within. As he turned to leave, she felt a sudden surge of defiance. The moment he stepped away, she could hear Jake breathing softly in the closet, a reminder that her heart was no longer hers alone. Dad, wait! She blurted out, nearly startling herself. Her father paused, slowly turning back, his brow arched in question. The impulse to confess surged within her, yet at the same time, fear rooted her in place. What is it? He asked, but Emily hesitated, words colliding in her thoughts like storms. What could she say? The moment hung heavy in the air, thick with the weight of her father's expectations and her own anxiety. Would revealing the truth shatter their already fragile world? And yet, below everything, the door to her heart had cracked just a fraction open, and she sensed the relentless pull toward Jake, an undeniable truth swimming beneath her layers of fear. Dad, how did things get so complicated? She finally whispered. He looked at her, a mixture of concern and curiosity etched on his features. What do you mean? Just then, the closet door creaked slightly, eliciting a twinge of anxiety in Emily, a signal that the quiet moments they'd shared were already tipping back into chaos. In that instant, a realization struck her. What if this was just the beginning? What if this mashup of family histories and rivalries was tearing at more than just their parents' past? Would it redefine what they might build together? Emily, are you all right? Her father pressed, looking closer now, reading the telltale signs of distress in her face. With Jake waiting in the shadows, a spark of determination ignited within her. She stood straighter, ready to confront not just the ghosts of their families, but the truth festering deep inside her. Dad, We need to talk about Jake. The weight of the truth hung in the air, ready to spill forth. But would she find the courage? Would her father accept a connection that might change everything once and for all? Emily felt her father's gaze probe her like a needle, searching for clarity that she didn't know how to provide. The moment stretched thin, each second echoing in her ears like a distant drum. The breath she held and felt stifled as she wrestled between desire and fear. Jake? Her father's voice sliced through her thoughts, cutting right to the heart of her turmoil. Who is he? Her heart raced. Would saying his name unleash everything she feared? He is just a friend, she lied, but the words felt heavy and false, clanging against her conscience. A friend? He leaned in, the concern deepening in his eyes. You can't keep everything bottled up, Emily. I've noticed how you've changed, how you've drifted away. A flood of emotion surged inside her, a desperate need for connection from her father, and an equally strong yearning for Jake. How could she bridge the chasm of their world's differences? It's complicated, Dad. There's a lot you don't know. Then help me understand, he urged, an edge of frustration creeping into his tone. You're my daughter, and I love you. Don't you trust me? The words hummed like a lifeline in the air, pulling her closer to a truth she had been afraid to touch. Even as the closet door creaked again, her eyes locked on her father's, searching for the strength that might let her cross the precipice. I do trust you. It's just she hesitated, glancing towards the closet. The awareness of Jake, waiting in the shadows, made her heart tremble. What if you can't accept the truth? His face softened. Try me. There it was, a moment balancing on the edge of her father's compassion and her fear of rejection. Could she risk it? Could she finally step out of her tangled web of secrets? Jake, as she began, but the words caught in her throat, swirling in a storm of conflicting loyalties. Memories flooded in, laughter shared, moments stolen between broken families, warmth in the glow of a shared experience. He asked from the Winstons, Dad. The family that your mother? He trailed off, jaw tightening slightly. The pain washed across his face, old memories surfacing unbidden. Yes. The admission was like pulling a band-aid off a wound. But he is not like them. He is different. Her father's expression hardened slightly, and she could feel the weight of their family's history pressing down on them. Different or not, it's risky getting involved with them. You know that, don't you? I know, she protested, a bubble of frustration rising within her. But I also know that I can't just shut out my feelings. This isn't just about family feuds anymore. It's about who I am. The silence that followed was thick, wrapping around them both. The reality was undeniable. Jake had become a part of her, a connection that transcended their feuding families, a piece of her heart she had never meant to lose. Suddenly, the closet door creaked open just a fraction. She jumped, anxiety pooling in her stomach. Jake, only a few feet away, had heard everything. Emily shot him a pleading glance, and time seemed to freeze. Emily, are you saying you love him? Her father asked, his voice low and cautious, as if testing the weight of her words. The question loomed large, like a storm cloud threatening to break. Love. In that tiny moment, she recognized the truth, raw and terrifying, yet undeniably real. Yes, she breathed, shock flooding her own senses. I love him. A stillness enveloped the room, a silent suspension before the world resumed and the storm broke. Her father's brow knitted together in disbelief, and Emily braced herself for the inevitable fallout. Would he reject her? Would her family's legacy tear them apart? The wall of her father's old biases seemed to crack an inch. The silence was heavy, but behind his fierce gaze, she saw a flicker of understanding, a spark that just maybe he could choose to see her. Emily, he finally started, searching for words that might pave the road forward. But before he could complete his thought, a sudden slam echoed from beyond the door. An unfamiliar voice called out, "Dad? Are you in here?" It was Charlie, her younger brother, his carefree tone a stark contrast to the weight of the moment. Panic washed over Emily. "No, no." She helplessly looked between her father and the closet door, knowing Jake was still trapped inside. "Stay here," her father instructed firmly, an unusual edge to his voice as he moved to the door. Emily felt her heart hammering against her ribs. Would this interruption shatter everything they had just begun to piece together? As her father's back turned towards her, she caught a glimpse of Jake's face, calm but resolute, hidden in the shadows. She felt a surge of resolve. They had come too far, and she refused to let anything snuff out their fragile connection. "I have to get out there," she whispered to herself, determination coursing through her as her father's footsteps grew louder. But was this moment just the beginning, or would it devolve into a mess of secrets and shattered dreams? Keeping her hand at the door, she braced herself for impact, both terrified and exhilarated at what could happen next. Emily took a deep breath, crossing her fingers tightly against the cool surface of the door. She felt her heartbeat quicken, each thump urging her to push her father's back away and reveal Jake standing just out of view. The air was thick with tension and uncertainty, the kind of weight that could burst with even the smallest clarity. "Charlie, just a second," her father called, his voice strained and edged with urgency. His back was still turned. Emily's pulse raced. She knew she couldn't let this moment slip by. "Emily!" she heard Jake whisper, barely audible but so close. He was urging her, his eyes urging her to trust that whatever lay on the other side of the door wouldn't crush them. "Jake, I'm sorry," she murmured under her breath. There felt like there was so much to lose, yet the fear of losing Jake threatened to drown her. "Stay quiet. Just for a moment." The door shifted, her father's hand resting on the doorknob, as if contemplating the world outside. Charlie called out again, a shadow of innocence contrasting with the brewing storm inside the room. Emily's heart raced even more. This was not just about her father finding Jake, this was their lives, all intertwined with the hurt of their families. Did she dare step forward now? "Just trust me, Dad," she said, her voice stronger than she felt. "Can you at least listen?" "Listen to what?" he replied, irritation budding in the crease of his brow. He turned his head slightly, just enough for her to catch a glimpse of the confusion battling within him. She closed her eyes and imagined Jake, how his laugh lit up dark days, how his hand fit perfectly in hers. All the stolen moments flooded into her mind, his gentle teasing, their quiet dreams whispered in the night. "It's just not what you think. It's not simple." "Then make it simple." He sounded exasperated now. "No!" The word burst forth, raw and alive. She felt the desperation in her voice, could feel it swimming in the air between them. "Because it is complicated. It's always complicated." A moment of silence trailed after her words, but it didn't feel like defeat. It felt like laying the foundation of something new. Her father's eyes flickered, and she wondered if he was beginning to see the depth of her emotions, her courage burning through the walls he had built. "Charlie, could you?" he started, the uncertainty floating in his tone. "No," Emily interjected, her gaze fixed on the closet door. "Please, Dad. Just a moment." That was when she heard a soft shuffle from behind the door. Jake was moving. Panic surged through her, but she couldn't break the connection. This was their one chance, and she had to be strong. Her father seemed torn. The protective instinct blazed behind his eyes still, but beneath it there was a flicker of understanding she had been dying to see. "You love him," he finally whispered, almost to himself rather than to her. "Yes," Emily urged, tears brimming in her eyes. "Not in a way that makes sense to anyone else, but yes, I do love him." The doorknob twisted slowly, Charlie's voice floating through again. "What is taking so long?" Time felt suspended as her father hesitated, and in that split second, she summoned every ounce of bravery she had. "Please, Dad. Don't push me away." He turned slowly, finally meeting her gaze with a shattering mixture of fear and hope. "What if I can't accept this?" The words pierced through her, like an icy dagger to the heart. Would he really struggle that much with her truth? She softened, the storm within her starting to calm. "We can figure this out together. I just don't want to lose you too." Then Jake stepped forward, revealing himself from the shadows, vulnerability etched across his face. "Mr. Smith," he spoke steadily, a newfound respect emanating from his voice. "I love your daughter." Emily held her breath as she watched her father's expression transform into something akin to acceptance. Would this be the moment they all changed? Would it break the chains that bound their families in silence and hurt? Before her father could respond, footsteps rang out in the hallway, her mother's voice echoing. "Charlie, where are you?" The familiar tune of her mother's care threatened to crash into their fragile moment. Seriousness descended upon them. Could they navigate this all together? Emily squeezed Jake's hand tighter, bracing herself for the impending storm. Would they be able to weather this together and come out stronger? As the door swung open, a sense of foreboding mingled with newfound hope. Would her father really choose love over history? And so, the next question loomed as they stood on the precipice of all they had hoped for. How would they face her parents together? Would the truth mend their broken family bonds, or would it only deepen the divide? Emily's heart pounded in her chest as the door swung open, revealing the hallway strewn with chaos and concern. Her mother stood there, eyes wide, taking in the tableau of her husband, daughter, and Jake, confused frowns breaking the tension like fragile glass. "Oh, there you are!" her mother exclaimed, visibly relieved yet puzzled. "I thought you were hiding from your chores." Her father's expression shifted again, caught between his daughter and the growing storm of emotion that surrounded them. Emily felt Jake's grip tighten on her hand, their fingers laced together like a lifeline in the rising tide threatening to engulf them. "Mom, wait," Emily began, her voice caught somewhere between pleading and urgent. "There is something we need to talk about." Her mother's brow furrowed, her thoughts racing. "What is it, honey? You're scaring me. I need you to listen. All of you," she pleaded, glancing at Jake, who stood rigid beside her, the wind knocked out of him. "Jake has something to share," Emily continued, meeting her father's steady gaze. The weight of his silence was maddening. "And it's important." Jake took a deep breath, taking a single step forward as everyone's eyes focused on him. The room felt charged, each breath shared between them heavy with anticipation. "Mr. Smith, Mrs. Smith, Emily, and I," he caught a breath to steady his shaking voice. "We're together. I love her." Her mother's lips parted in surprise, while her father's frown deepened, a wall rising between them. "What do you mean together?" her mother asked, her voice dropping to an almost incredulous whisper. "We've been seeing each other for a while," Emily clarified, her heart racing. "And it's not just," her father interjected. "So you're telling me you're dating my daughter?" His tone was sharp, a familiar protective edge creeping in with fierce intensity. "Yes," Jake responded, his voice firm despite the crimson flush that colored his cheeks. "But it's more than that." Time seemed to halt as Emily's father processed the weight of Jake's words. Behind them, Charlie peeked through the doorway, his innocent confusion cutting through the tension, and suddenly, the future felt unbearably fragile. "More than what?" her father pressed, straining to keep calm. "You have to understand this is complicated for us." "I know," Jake replied, intensity bubbling under his calm demeanor. "But it doesn't have to be." "What does that mean?" Emily's mother asked softly, reaching for her daughter's hand. That small gesture sparked a flicker in Emily's heart, the hope that perhaps they could bridge the seemingly insurmountable divide. It means love can take time to understand. Please, she whispered, looking at each of them. Let us show you that it's real. That we can help navigate this together. Her father's eyes narrowed, the confusion beginning to mix with something deeper, fear, perhaps. What about the history between our families? I can't change the past, Jake replied earnestly. But I truly care about Emily. I want to be here for her, and I'll do anything to prove that. Emily felt a swell of pride and fear mingling within her. She could see her father's conflict, thrusting against the wall made from years of miscommunication and hurt. But she wasn't giving up. Dad, you taught me that families can learn and grow, Emily pressed, her voice cracking just a little. I need you to let our families heal too. We need your support. The silence was deafening as her father struggled between his instincts and the possibility of acceptance. Finally, he looked away, as if contemplating his next move, the flicker of hope in Emily's heart clashing with uncertainty. Then, Charlie's innocent voice broke through, a lifeline in the tense atmosphere. Can we go outside to play now? For a fleeting moment, everyone smiled, or at least they tried. It was a fragile truce, but it was enough to wrap their hearts in warmth. Yet even as that light flickered, the tension in the air didn't dissipate. Emily turned to Jake, reassurance radiating from her gaze. They would face this storm together, but would her parents find it in themselves to see this love for what it was? The questions loomed ahead, spiraling precariously like leaves caught in a gust of wind. Would they embrace change or cling to the past? Might their families finally find a way to come together? As they stood at the edge of the unknown, one thing felt clear. The path forward would be difficult, but they were ready to fight for it. Emily stood frozen, a flurry of emotions crashing against her like waves against the shore. The moment of fragile peace their little family had tried to create seemed precariously balanced on the edge of a knife. Jake squeezed her hand once more, a silent promise that they would face whatever was coming together. All right, let us talk, her father finally said, his tone softer yet still laden with apprehension. The tension shifted slightly, as he gestured for them to sit in the living room. Slowly, Emily led Jake inside, her heart racing at the thought of what might unfold. Gathered on the couch, the atmosphere felt thick with unspoken words. Charlie darted toward his toys, blissfully unaware, the innocence of youth creating a stark contrast to the adult anxieties swirling in the air. Emily couldn't help but smile at him, wishing so desperately that her own childhood could have remained as pure and uncomplicated. Why didn't you tell us sooner? Her mother broke the silence, her voice trembling. We've always been open about relationships in this family. Why keep this from us? Jake leaned forward, his earnest face framed with determination. I didn't want to complicate things. I knew your history, and, honestly, I was scared of how you'd react. But I also didn't want to hide what Emily means to me. Her father pinched the bridge of his nose, frustration evident. This isn't just about you wanting to date my daughter. Have you thought about the implications? The potential fallout? Our families, they haven't exactly had a smooth relationship. Emily felt her heart twist. That's exactly why we need to talk about this now, she urged. If we don't confront our past, it'll keep haunting us. Her mother's brow furrowed as she looked between her husband, her daughter, and the boy who had stolen Emily's heart. It's not that we don't want you to be happy, we just worry about the history and the repercussions. It was Jake's turn to take a deep breath. Let me ask you this, aren't we all capable of healing? Of ensuring history doesn't dictate our future? Emily's mom exchanged glances with her father, and Emily could see the glimmer of uncertainty hiding behind their protective instincts. Every word Jake spoke seemed to chip away at the walls between them, inviting them into the possibility of change. I get it, her father finally admitted. But love doesn't erase the hurt. Jake nodded, reflecting the sincerity of his desire. I don't want to erase the past. I want to create a future that is built on understanding and respect. Just give me a chance to prove it. Emily noticed a softening in her mother's expression, a sign she desperately hoped would lead to acceptance. What if we took it slow? Her mother suggested hesitantly. Maybe an understanding at first without assumptions or pressure to get too involved right away. The relief in Emily's heart was palpable, an ember of hope igniting in the quiet darkness. I can work with that, she whispered, letting out a breath she didn't realize she had been holding. Charlie scampered back, holding up a toy. Can we build a fort? Emily, can Jake help? The innocence of her brother's request cut through the tension, causing everyone to chuckle softly. The moment offered a fragile sense of unity, an opportunity to build something new, not just among themselves, but within their families as well. We'll figure it out, her father said, his voice steadier now. He finally placed his hand on Jake's shoulder, an unexpected gesture of acceptance. But you need to understand this isn't just between you two. It's complicated. Emily's heart swelled with gratitude, both toward Jake for his courage and her father for being willing to shift his perspective. This was just the beginning, and yet, the path ahead felt slightly less intimidating. As they exchanged tentative smiles, Emily knew they were stepping into uncharted territory. Would they hold on to old resentments, or let go of the past to embrace the future? Her chest tightened at the weight of it all. Yet, before she could find clarity, an unexpected silence fell between them. Charlie's voice rang out again, laced with concern. What happens if we get scared? This question hung in the air, a powerful reminder that even amidst fragile hope, fear still loomed just beneath the surface. Would they find strength to face it together, or would the shadows of their past consume them once again? As the question lingered in the air, a chill settled in the room. Emily's father shifted uncomfortably, glancing toward the window, almost as if searching for an escape from Charlie's innocent inquiry. Jake, seeing the tension tighten again, spoke up. Fear is a part of life, Charlie, he said gently. It can keep us safe, but it can also hold us back. It's okay to feel scared. It's how we respond to that fear that counts. Charlie tilted his head, trying to process the depth of Jake's words. Emily reached out, giving his small hand a reassuring squeeze. You're right, Jake. We can't let fear make our decisions for us. Her mother offered a hesitant smile, but it was clear she wasn't fully convinced. Jake, you're young. It's easy to say we can handle fear, but emotions can overpower us. In this family, we've learned that the hard way. Emily's heart sank as she recognized the unspoken memories that danced between them. The wounds of past relationships, the ruin they left behind. It was as if the room darkened with the weight of their shared history. But don't we owe it to ourselves to at least try? Jake shot back, eyes blazing with determination. We need to rewrite the narrative not just of our families, but of our own lives. Emily's father sighed deeply, his brows furrowing in thought. It's a noble sentiment, but life doesn't operate like a storybook, kid. You can't just decide to turn a chapter and expect everything to change. Isn't that what we're trying to do? Emily interjected, her voice stronger now. This is our chance to do things differently. Yes, there's fear, and yes, it's complicated. But that doesn't mean it's impossible. Silence settled again, but this time, it felt less suffocating. There was a flicker of something in her parents' expression and acknowledgement that healing, though difficult, was within reach. Creating a new legacy takes time, her mother finally said, her voice softer but still laced with caution. We'll have to keep reminding ourselves to be patient. You two will need to show us that you can navigate the complexities together. Emily nodded, feeling the warmth of hope intertwine with the fear that had settled in her chest. We will, she assured them. We'll take it slow just like you suggested earlier. Charlie chimed in, his voice brightening the mood. And I want to help. We can build awesome forts and have adventures together. That sparked a ripple of laughter in the room, easing some of the weight. Jake grinned, leaning toward Charlie. Absolutely. Adventures start with forts. Let us take on the world, one blanket at a time. Her father chuckled, the tension easing significantly as he watched his children with newfound acceptance. All right, let us see what you've got. There was a twinkle in his eye, a hint of a smile breaking through. As they gathered to help Charlie with his fort, the atmosphere began to shift. Emily could feel their connection renewing brick by brick, like a foundation being laid for what could be. Still, as they constructed the fort, a whisper of doubt nestled deep within her. What if the shadows of their past loomed larger than any fort could protect them? What if the fear wouldn't just fade away, but instead erupted when they least expected it? The walls of the room were filled with laughter, but deep down, Emily knew they were just beginning to scratch the surface. Would the past allow them to craft a new future, or would it break through at the worst possible moment? And then the doorbell rang, jolting everyone out of their reverie. Emily froze in place, staring at the door, as a wave of unease swept over her. Who could be here now? Was it someone from the past, or another surprise waiting to disrupt their fragile peace? Emily's heart thumped wildly as she exchanged glances with Jake, her father and mother. The laughter faded, replaced by a charged silence heavy with uncertainty. A mix of curiosity and dread filled the air. Who had come knocking at their door? Should I get it? Charlie asked, bouncing on his toes, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing just beneath the surface. No, let me, Emily said, forcing a smile as her heart raced. She felt Jake's reassuring squeeze on her hand just before she got up, providing a small anchor amidst the swirling emotions. As she approached the door, the weight of her newfound resolve danced within her. She was ready to face whatever was beyond it. With a deep breath, she opened the door to reveal a woman with familiar sharp features and an air of confident superiority. It was Lisa Winston, Jake's mother. The recognition hit like a freight train, sending a jolt of panic through her. Emily, Lisa greeted, her voice smooth yet laced with pointed questions. Can we talk? 1,000 thoughts swirled in Emily's mind. She could sense Jake's presence stiffen behind her, poised for confrontation. But Emily couldn't let that fear dictate her next move. Sure, she replied, stepping aside to let Lisa in. As they all settled uncomfortable in the living room, the tension thickened again. Emily could feel her parents' curiosity alongside Jake's watchfulness. Lisa eyed Jake, then Emily, her demeanor shifting from rigid to inquisitive. I heard you two are getting closer, she began, each word deliberate. What is going on? Your father won to be thrilled. Our families have been at war long enough time to shatter the chains, Emily thought, taking a deep breath. Mom, Jake interjected, a mix of frustration and apprehension evident in his tone. This isn't how I wanted you to find out. Then how do you want me to find out? Lisa shot back, her composure faltering for the first time. By learning about it in whispers? You think Emily's family is going to? Emily could feel the heat rising in her chest. We want to heal, not fight, she cut in, surprising even herself with the strength of her voice. If our families are going to understand each other, we have to be honest. This feud has been a burden long enough. Lisa's expression softened slightly, curiosity breaking through the stern exterior she usually maintained. You think this will change anything? Yes, Jake said firmly, standing tall beside Emily. It's time to rise above it. We want to create our own story, not just live out the history of our families. Her parents exchanged glances, uncertainty woven through their silence. Emily's heart thudded loudly as she realized this was a moment to be seized. We're asking you to trust us, she said, looking deeply into Lisa's eyes, willing her to understand. Let this bond change things for the better. The room fell still. Emily could sense the struggle, the years of pain wrapped around every individual present. But it felt different now. Hope and vulnerability dared to blossom in the gap. Lisa crossed her arms, tension still evident in her posture, but there was hesitance in her eyes. I want to believe that. But old wounds run deep. Then let us work together, Jake urged again, his voice steady. Let us pave a way for something new. For peace, for you, for me, for Emily. The gravity of their conviction hung in the air, an invitation for change. After a moment that felt like eternity, Lisa finally shrugged slightly. If this is truly what you want, I will consider it. But we do need to talk about how this would affect everything else. As the conversation flowed, Emily couldn't believe the tension slowly starting to ease. Each word exchanged felt like a gentle push toward their hopeful future. Discussions of boundaries, mutual respect, and a shared future unfolded. Through it all, Emily felt a sense of joy growing vibrant within her. She glanced at her parents, who were nodding along, embracing the notion of transformation. And then she caught Jake's gaze, his eyes shining with shared determination. In that moment, they stood united, ready to face the unknown together. As their families began to bridge the gap of their pasts, Emily felt an unfamiliar lightness. They were no longer bound by the confines of resentment. Instead, they were building a future of blending traditions and new memories. A new beginning, Emily whispered softly, almost to herself. Yes, Jake replied quietly, the promise in their gazes reflecting an undeniable bond. The air hummed with possibility, as Emily recalled Mia and Ethan's gentle laughter echoing through their home. With renewed hope, she imagined the day where everyone would sit together at that very table, not as enemies or feuding families, but as one new family. As they exchanged ideas and laughter flowed, Emily knew that this was only the beginning, an incredible transformation fueled by love. And at that moment, everything felt possible. Let us do this, they said in unison, solidifying a bond that could withstand even the fiercest of tempests. If you found inspiration in Emily's journey and want to witness more transformative stories like this, you need to subscribe now. Don't wait not even one more second to share this uplifting experience with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. And if you love what you read, leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us spread these amazing stories. Your reactions and thoughts matter. Comment below and let us know how this ending made you feel. This is the moment to show your support and be part of our growing family.